Hello all, this is Brian from Earth to Hearth. Here this afternoon, I just want to talk about our potatoes. So, hello to you too. So, we harvested our potatoes yesterday, and it was just hot and we just wanted to get it done. So apologies for the rooster and for not filming it. Now, as you can see here, we had a little problem this year. Now, we still got a good harvest, but we have some rodents who got in and they quite enjoyed our potatoes. So what I am going to do though is clean this up, and I have a spot where I think we're just going to try and bury them and see if maybe we get some potatoes next year, and see if they'll kind of just grow on their own, but that way we're not risking any sanitary issues. And I'll show you our potato harvest. I have it in the garage processing for letting them cure before we put them into storage. And we got, I didn't get a really good, I did a quick, sight down my thumb measurement. And it looks like we got around, probably 75 pounds of potatoes, which is pretty good. We grew a little less than last year, and last year we got about 90, a little over 90 pounds. I think it was just shy of 100, if I remember correctly. So, a good harvest, especially considering we probably lost about 10 pounds, hell, maybe even 20, due to the rodents. So we really probably matched these purple, as you can see, these Adirondack blues are really have grown and did well. So unfortunate that so many got eaten, but we're gonna make lemon out of lemonade. I have some deterrent, and it's partly my fault. I saw some of the holes on the side, but I wasn't very religious about putting the deterrent out. Then unfortunately we do have an endangered pocket gopher in our area, and they are on the property. Now, these may or may not be the pocket gophers. We have meadow voles and plenty of other rodents, so it could just very well be one of those rodents. But given the holes, I do think it might be them. And they are vegetarians. So some of them are vegetarian, and then there's another one that's an omnivore. And those will compost. So I'm gonna get them all piled up. So, and the varieties we grew this year, so the Adirondack blue, it says it's blue, but it's purple. The color's purple. It is probably one of my favorite varieties that we started growing it last year, so we both like a purple variety, and the previous purple, which I can't remember, was all right, but was nothing amazing, and so we wanted to try something different, and so this variety we grew, and I will say that they're definitely going to be one of our always growing varieties that we're always going to grow. No matter what we grow, they will be in the rotation because they are highly productive. They're nice and resilient to disease and other issues. And they cook really well. They're nice and versatile. I'd say they are best. They're best for, or at least my favorite way, is to cut them into potato wedges and just roast them. Toss them in a little olive oil, 375 for 30 minutes at the hottest part of your oven. That's my preferred method for cooking them up. But they boil up well. We can certainly make baked potatoes, which actually do pretty good baked potatoes as well, though a little denser. All right, am I good? Okay. Oh, you might actually be good. Okay. All right. So over here, we have our compost, or our chicken sort of compost pile. So our thought we were talking about is if we just bury these over here, and maybe we'll get lucky next year and have some free. And if not, oh well. If all I do is throw some food to the rodents, well, so be it, because I'm not eating them anyways, and I'd rather than be attracted to this part of our yard than over in our raised beds, especially since they are likely the at least to be somewhat the endangered species that I can't really do anything about other than just do some deterrence. So, which is fine. And if you're thinking, oh, put hardware cloth or whatever, one, I would have to dig up all those beds, because that was something that didn't realize we had in, or they were in the area until later. And two, they can still chew through those. Like, there's no 100%. It will delay the inevitable, but it will still be inevitable. All right, I'm gonna roll back. I forgot to grab the shovel. All right, got the shovel. Well, now that's all loosened, I'm just gonna move it to the side. Yeah, here. No one wants you. Oh yeah, those blackberry roots. Yep, we have very rocky soil. So hopefully, and will this give us a lot of potatoes next year? Nope. But hopefully something will come up. Oh, and I'm sorry. I totally realized I was talking about our varieties we grew. I got distracted. So yeah, we obviously did the Adirondack Blues. So I believe, I have my knife on me. Let me see. I do. Our impromptu dissection here. Aha. So this is the Huckleberry Gold. Has just a, it should be a Huckleberry Gold. That's what they sent us. And it has a more just paler flesh. It's supposed to be golder, but that was a little paler. And then we should have another variety in here. Let's see if I can find it. And it is called Mountain Rose. I think that's one. And it has pink flesh. I quite like it. Oh, hopefully it didn't damage that. There you go, as you can see. I can't find the seed potatoes for us anymore, so I just saved some that we grew from last year. But it's got this variegated pink flesh. Quite good. I would say it still cooks somewhere in between like a red potato, a traditional red potato, and maybe a russet. So here, I'll put you over there. Probably doing this a bit, making that harder than I need to be. Personally like to order seed potatoes every year for the main reason that we have a lot of fungal diseases in our area, and so, and given that potatoes can be quite susceptible to fungal diseases, I don't want to be continuing a pathogen generation after generation, especially since potatoes are, generally speaking, more susceptible than to some other things. Hence the potato famine. One of the main culprits was a fungus or a fungal pathogen, if I'm remembering correctly. Maybe I'm wrong. All right. I got some potatoes here, and we have plenty of chicken poo. Just enough to kind of cover everything. Well, who knows? We'll see next year. Though, given the tenacity of potatoes, I think that won't be any issue at all. And we'll be seeing some next year. And as to compost, so we actually, our main compost are 2 tumbler bins. And I'll do a video on that, showing those specifically. But here I just kind of dump our chicken, all our leftover waste from the chicken coop. Dump it here and kind of turn it. Occasionally I'll throw some of our garden waste as well, just to kind of add to it. But this is some breakdown, and I'm slowly just kind of spreading it out over the field here. As you can see, then that was actually surprisingly good. But this soil here is highly compacted and gravelly. So high amount of rock and gravel in it. So it's a pain to work with. There's just not much actual soil from a humus perspective. So slow going, but we're working on it, and we're getting there. Yeah, so, and then the last variety, other than the Mountain Rose and the Huckleberry Gold, sorry, tangent, is our Russian banana fingerling. And it's, I would say, of the fingerlings variety, it grows well. So I'll give it that. It grows well, tends not to have really any issues with disease. You get a good mix of sizes. You get some large ones and some smaller ones, so you kind of get a mix of both depending on what you like. But for me personally, how we like to eat fingerlings most times is to cut them in half and then roast them with the cut side down on a pan with oil, and just get them for that cut side gets super crispy, and then you get inside is creamy. And they just don't cook as well that way. So I think we're gonna try next year. I'd already ordered them before I thought of it, so it was a little too late. So we grew them this year again, but next year I think we're gonna try a couple other varieties. I can't remember, we grew some years ago that we really liked, but we didn't take any notes, so I don't know what varieties they are. I'm gonna get the wheelbarrow for that. So yeah. We're gonna go inside, and I'll show you in the garage our actual potatoes and what they look like. All right, and as you can see here, this is where I've temporarily put our harvest, because we have windows in the garage that lets light in. I've just put shade cloth over our potatoes, just as a precaution for sun scald. But here's our harvest. This, we have some fingerlings. These are Russian banana. This was Huckleberry Gold. This is Mountain Rose. And this is Adirondack Blue. Set these up to cure before we put them into storage. I will be putting a good majority of them in here. Again, I did a separate video on this, but this is a drink cooler. I put some blackout tape for the light on the glass, and then this keeps it at the right temperature and humidity to store them. And we stored our potatoes for over a year. Obviously we finished them all now, and I won't be able to fit all of these in there, so then that's okay. Like, we'll probably give some away to my brother. He always there always could use some help. So yeah, so hopefully that shows you how I think potatoes can be one of the better sort of self-sufficiency options, in that you can grow quite a lot in a relatively small space. And even if you don't have a basement, there are multiple ways. I'm probably going to try and experiment maybe with a couple other ways to store them this year. But even let's say you don't have a one of these drink coolers lying around, or can't find one used, or you don't have a basement or a good root cellar, these will still give you a good 6 to 8 months of storage life. But this gives you a really nice, reliable way to have some self-sufficiency and be able to feed yourself and your family with a relatively small amount of space. As well, I think one of the best things about potatoes compared to other staple crops is the processing, right? Like, wheat's great, at least in theory, but then you have to thresh it and winnow it, and then you need to grind it. So you either need to spend a lot of time with something like wheat or other grains, separating it from the chaff. Then you have to have a grain mill to grind it into flour. And for some people, that maybe isn't really the method. Or you're going to have to spend money on finding a way to thresh it yourself. I've tried different methods. I've grown wheat, and I haven't really come across a great way yet. I'm still hoping to improve upon it. But, I've tried some of the buckets out there, and nothing's been super amazing. Made it work, but potatoes, you just dig them up, you cure them for a bit, and then you store them, and then you eat them, and you just and that's, I think, one of the better things about them. Corn's probably the second best in my opinion, just because you don't have to, a corn shucker is pretty well available. You can still shuck them by hand, get a couple people, and it's not fun, but it's doable. It's a lot less of a pain than wheat, I'll tell you that. You still should ideally have a grinder, but there are ways around that as well. Winter squash is probably another really good staple. Similar, I'd say, to potatoes in many ways, in that there is less processing. If you cure them properly, they'll store really long, and then you just need to chop them up to cook them. So potatoes and winter squash are probably some of your best starter staple crops if you're looking to get into self-sufficiency, that I would recommend. Yeah, so hopefully that helps and gives you some inspiration. And even if you're not interested in self-sufficiency, growing great potatoes is just awesome. There's so many varieties that you can grow that are out there that you're just never going to find at a store. And they bring different flavors and attributes that you don't get with what's at the store. So I hope you will join me and grow potatoes and add them to your garden, because they're pretty awesome and they're really easy.